And so Jesus here says, don't get caught up in a cycle of violence. That doesn't help anybody. So when someone sins against you, here's how you respond. And he says in verse 39, do not resist evil. Or the translation I had was, do not resist an evil person. Well, that kind of is misleading, isn't it? Because you obviously, if you hear that, you immediately should think, wait a minute. We're supposed to resist evil, right? I mean, if you care about the world and evil destroys people, if you love your neighbor, love demands that you oppose evil. Love demands that you resist it. Love demands that you attack it, that you stand against it. And in fact, Jesus himself opposed evil vehemently, without any apology. He was vicious in his opposition to evil. He overturned tables in the temple and chased men out with a whip. That's how much he opposed evil. He denounced it in synagogues. He opposed sin in the wilderness. He gave his life to oppose evil. The very work of the cross is a vehement opposition to evil and sin. He denounced and opposed the Pharisees for their hypocrisy. Over and over again, we see Jesus opposing evil. This statement here cannot mean you shouldn't resist evil in any way. It can't mean that, because that would mean that you can't love anybody. If you don't hate sin and hate evil, you don't love anyone. Love demands that I defend my loved ones, and even my friends and my neighbors and strangers. If a stranger is unlawfully attacked, if I can do something to help him and defend him, I'm obligated to do that. That's the obligation of love. Love requires the resistance of evil. So what does it mean? Well, one way we could translate this is, do not resist by evil means. And that is much closer to what Jesus is intending. That's the context here. That fits right into what he's been saying all along. We are to resist evil like Jesus, who resisted it ferociously, but he didn't resist evil in an evil way, did he? When he resisted evil, he didn't sin against the people who were committing evil. He didn't contribute more evil to the evil. He was resisting it in a righteous way. And Paul put it this way, do not be overcome by evil, but rather overcome evil with good. Love requires that we resist and stand against all evil, opposing it by every lawful means. Not by sinning, but by every lawful means. And if you refuse to do that, you don't really love the world, you don't care about your neighbor, you don't love anybody but yourself. We have to resist evil, but we must resist it in a way that righteousness is promoted. And then Jesus goes on and gives illustrations of how we do that. And they were illustrations that the Jews didn't like to hear, because just about every one of them refer to situations that all of them were facing day by day from the Romans and from Roman soldiers and Roman officials. Remember that Israel at this point was under the dominion of the Roman Empire, and the Jews hated that. That was not what God had promised them as they understood it. They were to be the ones to rule over everybody. They were supposed to be the ones who could slap people in public and not have any retaliation. They were the ones who were supposed to command people to carry their baggage. They were supposed to be the rulers, not the ruled. They were the ones who did the humiliating. They weren't supposed to be humiliated themselves. And so Jesus goes down the list of things that many of these things had happened to them, no doubt. And he tells them how they have to respond. You can't retaliate in a wrong way. You've got to oppose evil properly.